Good evening, everyone, and thanks for being with us. I'm Roseanne Haven.
And I'm Peter Albrecht. All eyes are on Helene right now as the Category 4 hurricane bears down on Florida's Big Bend with winds over 120 miles an hour and what's expected to be a devastating storm surge up to 20 feet.
The impacts are already severe, and this storm could be one for the history books. And we are documenting it right now with live team coverage across Florida's Gulf Coast. We start that coverage in Tallahassee, Florida's capital, in Helene's crosshairs. Kristen Curry is there live. Kristen, is this area, does it seem ready for a storm of this magnitude?
Peter and Roseanne, we saw, the boarded up windows, the sandbags driving around earlier in Tallahassee. But unfortunately, now that this storm is Category 4 strength with those 130 mile per hour winds, if it maintains that, making landfall later on tonight, this would be the strongest hurricane on record for this area. The record's going back to the 1850s. So this is expected to have, like you mentioned, a huge impact, not only with just the hurricane force winds, but the fact that it's so big, this storm surge, that 15 to 20 foot storm surge forecast that we have right there in the curve, the nature coast, and even looking at the geography of that, the shallowness of the Gulf of Mexico and the wind over the water, just allowing that water to surge onto land. Now, if there's any silver lining, there is a lot of like wildlife refuge there and marshland. There's no big towns right there in the curve, but unfortunately, Tallahassee is close enough to where we're not only worried about, hey, this storm can make landfall in Tallahassee and we go through the eye, but I'm also concerned if we get just outside the eye and spend 3 to 4 hours in the eye wall. The most destructive part of a hurricane could go right over Tallahassee. So there's a lot that we're going to be monitoring over the next few hours.
All right, thank you so much. Helene, of course, a major hurricane, and they're talking about an 18-foot unsurvivable storm surge in the Big Bend.
Chief Meteorologist Ed Bloodsworth is tracking this storm as it bears down on the Gulf Coast.
Yeah.
Conditions are already bad. How much worse can it get?
Well, we've been talking a lot about this surge threat, but it's not just the Big Bend. The entire west coast of Florida, all the way down to Tampa, they've had surge already 6 to 9 feet today. And things will improve for them tonight. But again, it's that Big Bend, the sort of bowl here along the Florida coast where this now Category 4 hurricane was set to make landfall within the next 2 hours. It's a quick mover, moving north-northeast at 23 miles per hour, but those max winds, according to NOAA Air Force or NOAA hurricane hunters, have now increased to 130 miles per hour. So this will be one of the strongest storms to make landfall along the Florida Gulf Coast since Ian and Michael. So here's a look at that track again. Another Category 4 landfall imminent here sometime within the next hour to 2 hours. And as it moves on shore, it'll bring a Category 2 hurricane force winds as far north as Macon. And then up towards Atlanta, they could still see hurricane force gusts. And then this will start to ring out in terms of its rainfall, maybe 10 to 20 inches of rain falling in the mountains of North Carolina and the upstate of South Carolina. Locally, we are on the much drier end of the storm. You were to look outside, skies are clear over Mobile and Mississippi now. So you would know just a couple hundred miles away, they are dealing with what will be a storm of historic proportions. And there is a look at the eye wall, which is now coming into clear view from the Tallahassee radar. And it's within that eye wall, we're getting some lightning. And this storm may continue to strengthen all the way up until landfall. So we may see those winds go even higher as it rolls on shore. It'll move quickly. Some dry air will quickly wrap into the system. And then it'll continue to accelerate north, getting swept up in a big trough, but you can see that area of red would denote not just the rain, but the significant wind that'll continue to work on inland. Now, local impacts, minimal. The only real thing I'm worried about are just coastal impacts. Waves are continuing to rise, little to no rain. I know a lot of folks are hoping to get some rain out of this, but it's not going to happen here. Winds could still gust this evening up to around 45 miles per hour along Okaloosa, Santa Rosa County here, but the tropical storm warning is just for the offshore waters. There is a tropical storm warning in effect for Walton County and in the Grayton Beach area, and that is where we've deployed the News 5 Weather Beast. Meteorologist Grant Skinner is joining us live out there as those waves have really started to pick up there, Grant.
Yeah, Ed, and the tropical storm warning is in place because wind gusts are still going to be strong in this part of Florida. We're about 160 miles right now from the center of Hurricane Helene, yet the surf is very rough. Double red flags flying right now, and we're going to continue to see double red flags flying into the rest of this evening as surf remains very rough. Take a look at that offshore. It's just, I mean, those waves are unbelievable. And imagine how it is even further east, even higher surf there. The storm surge going to be extreme for that area, causing a lot of concerns across much of the Big Bend of Florida. Here, wind gusts haven't been too strong. I've been taking some measurements in the Weather Beast, getting around 15 to 20 mile per hour gusts, maybe even a little bit higher at times, but right now not too bad. But as this storm gets a little bit closer to the coastline, I think we'll start to see some stronger winds start to spread over to this area. But again, we are about 160 miles from the center of Helene, and we're still getting some bands of rain, bands of moisture out from that storm, and it's still bringing some some light showers here now, but at times heavier downpours, and we'll continue to see heavier downpours, and of course very rough surf throughout the rest of this evening. Those conditions should start to calm down into tomorrow morning as those skies clear up as well. Reporting live from Seagrove Beach in Walton County, I'm meteorologist Grant Skinner, WKRG News 5.
All right, thank you, Grant. Helene is a massive storm, and its impacts are being felt all along the Gulf Coast.
Our continuing coverage takes us to Okaloosa Island, where WKRG News 5's Adarius McCormick is live, monitoring conditions there. Adarius.
It's pretty bad out here with the wind. I mean, we haven't seen much rain, but the wind is hitting us hard. But I'll tell you what's really big. Those waves out there are getting feet in the air. And as Okaloosa County continues to prepare for potential impacts of Hurricane Helene, the community is banding together to offer support to anyone in need. Hurricane Helene is not causing a major impact right now, but members of the community are donating supplies to make sure everyone is ready if the storm gets worse. Fire Station number 7 in Fort Walton Beach is offering supplies from pet food to water. The station is at 1974 Lewis Turner Boulevard, and they are still collecting donations until 8 p.m. When the trailer is full, they'll take supplies where it's needed 24/7. And now we're going to send it to Pensacola Beach with Hannah O'Gara.
Thanks, Adarius. Yeah, things out here on Pensacola Beach have been quite windy with speeds up to 25 miles per hour, but still no sign of any rain. Now, we are one of the luckier counties with this weather out here in comparison to those near the Big Bend area. As counties prepare for Hurricane Helene to make landfall this evening, Escambia County response teams are ready to head east. Earlier today, I spoke with Escambia County Emergency Manager Travis Tompkins, who said roughly 200 people will be deploying out to affected areas.
My team, emergency management team, and the sheriff's department, and Santa Rosa Emergency Management as well, are going to be deploying to Liberty County tomorrow morning as soon as landfall's over with to start assisting our sister counties over there in the state of Florida.
Tompkins and his team are currently at Escambia County Emergency Operations Center, ready to step in if areas near Tallahassee begin to lose power. We will keep you updated as Hurricane Helene continues to roll through. Live on Pensacola Beach, Hannah O'Gara, WKRG News 5.
Now, Florida is only the first stop for Helene. Georgia Governor Brian Kemp held an emergency briefing today ahead of the storm. The entire state under a state of emergency right now. The National Guard has been called up. Helene is expected to dump up to 20 inches of rain as it moves north. In the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains, that could mean overflowing rivers, flash flooding, and even landslides.